P.J. Hairston is back in the news, this time charged with misdemeanor assault and battery for punching Kentrell Barkley in the face during a game of pickup basketball at a YMCA in Durham, North Carolina. Barkley is 17 years old, a rising senior at Northern High School in Durham. Hairston is an NBA rookie with the Charlotte Hornets, a guy who can shoot the basketball so well that he was a first-round pick in the NBA draft despite missing last season with the North Carolina Tar Heels because the NCAA said he was wrong for riding around in cars linked to a convicted felon. He picked up speeding tickets in those cars, got caught with marijuana in one of them, yet he still made it to the NBA. And so it's hard for people to understand, based on all that he's gone through, it's hard for people to understand why he would allow himself to get caught up at the YMCA like that. So, I got us some help.
Paging Dr. Jen. Are you there, Dr. Jen?
Dr. Jen is in.
Dr. Jennifer Rounds Bryant is a licensed clinical psychologist, which means she tells us why we do the things we do. So, Dr. Jen, here's what I need to know. Why does a guy who has overcome so much to become a first-round NBA draft pick, despite all he's gone through, he's managed to make it to the NBA, every young basketball player's dream, and yet he finds himself in trouble for hitting a high school kid the day before he was to report to minicamp with the Charlotte Hornets?
Well, so I would have to ask you about whether he has really overcome so much. People tend to do the things that come most naturally or are most familiar to them. So if he had really overcome, as you say, all of these obstacles to get to this golden key, then these types of behaviors would be past him.
We talk about folks getting second chances. PJ has certainly had at least that. When I've seen him in recent interviews or read his quotes in recent interviews, he sounded like a guy who was very much humbled by what has happened to him, appreciative of the opportunities that he's been afforded after his mess ups. So he comes across very, very sincere and very, very contrite about everything. And so now here you saying that, not so fast. The boy hadn't learned his lesson.
Right, exactly. So when you think about somebody like PJ, obviously, I have not met him. He has not been a client. So I have to just look at the idea of folks like him. He is someone who has an incredible skill set, which has seemed to, I'm going to say, insulate him from lots of, negative consequences that other young people wouldn't have been able to escape. And so he has rewarded those folks who have given him second, third, and let's say 23rd chances by continuing to engage in the same kind of negative behaviors. I would submit to you, why would it be that he would be in Durham the weekend before the camp starts for the team to which he was drafted? Why would he be in Durham in the YMCA gymnasium?
Mm-hmm. And so I would throw it back to you and say, do we blame PJ?
Well, and here's what I would imagine. I cannot imagine that PJ has been coached, all of his life, certainly coached at UNC, certainly coached in the D-League. Certainly, I'm going to even imagine at least coached by his agent about his behavior. These are the things we need to be looking at. These are the things we need to be doing while you're in these various positions. So I would say to you that the coaching probably did come along with some saving. But here we are. PJ has landed safely into adulthood. And at some point, he's got to take a lesson. He's got to be accountable and take some responsibility for his trajectory. Now, as a teenager, maybe you're not convinced because you've not, it hadn't happened to you. You hadn't seen it happen to someone else. But by the time he's got to the point that he's in, he's had to at least see, even if he's not gotten negative consequences that have stuck, he's got to see that other people he has had to witness, that other people have some, have consequences for the same kinds of things that he's doing. And also just having the understanding that by virtue of being drafted into the NBA, you are at another level. Like that, because that has been his whole dream the whole time. That can't be lost on him. I would submit to you that he probably has some psychological issues that prevent him from being able to appreciate, as you say, the second chances, as I just said, being at a different level, that he is really operating at the level where he's most comfortable, being in the neighborhood, doing the negative, very adolescent, risky behavior type activities. And the fact that he chose a teenager, this wasn't even a peer. This wasn't even someone who, and a peer would be someone else who's been drafted to the NBA. Let's start there. But let's start with someone else who's 18 to 21, who's just in the community. He assaults a child.
Let me jump in right there. I'm certainly not here to apologize for PJ Hairston, but I mean PJ is 21. Kentrell Barkley, the young man that he assaulted, or that, let me say allegedly assaulted, although enough folks seem to have seen the attack. Why do you make so much of he assaulted a kid? I mean, Kentrell is 6'5", 190 pounds. PJ 6'6", 230. I mean, you know what I'm saying? These are two young men here.
Well, no, because our society separates them by age and legality. This young man, this 17-year-old, probably was not in any way going to be drafted into the NBA. I don't know, does the NBA even draft 17-year-olds?
No, they don't.
Okay, so we'll start there. Secondly, this 17-year-old is a rising senior, so he doesn't even have the benefit. I don't know how long PJ stayed in college, but this young man doesn't even have the benefit of having gone to one of the top, basketball programs in the country and having had the benefit of that coaching. So this is like PJ's like, the teacher, literally, because he could, at his age, he could be a licensed teacher coming into middle school and slapping an 8th grader based on the experiences that he had. First of all, had he been under the radar and kind of gone the traditional route in college, he would have had a certain level of experience and opportunity over this young man. But he decided to take the scenic route. He went to UNC, then he had to go to the D-League, and then he came out. So although only 4 years, let's just say 4 or 5 years separate these young men, PJ has had a lifetime of experiences that this teenager has not had, regardless of his size. And so PJ at some point, and at the same time, I mean, do you really assault anybody before you have your first day at the NBA job?
Well, you talked about PJ possibly having some psychological issues.
Yeah.
Do you put any credence at all into the past drug charges? Marijuana seems to be the drug of choice. Does that have anything, or could that impact or impair, his judgment?
Well, and I was going to say, based on, like I said, I don't know PJ, he's not my client, but based on the collection of behaviors that he has engaged in, it sounds like certainly he has an impulse control disorder. He's a very impulsive young man. He has demonstrated time and time again that, I'm going to just say, I have to imagine that people are giving him advice. Despite that advice, despite what he himself knows about life, he's not able to manage his impulses in a way that keep him out of trouble and prepared to engage in his adult responsibilities. For example, as large as you say this young man is, this young man could have put a street whooping on this man, and he might not have been ready to start training camp.
So you're saying he acts out uncontrollably sometimes?
There you go.
And so, but
it's not uncommon to self-medicate impulse control disorders with drugs, sex, and seeking power over other people.
All right,
versus his own self. Go ahead.
So now I'm saying, doctor, you're getting too clinical for us, because I'm told a story about PJ that same Sunday that he hit KB, that he was PJ was fouled hard and knocked to the ground by two guys on one particular play. But the eyewitness tells me that PJ went after the little guy who fouled him, and he didn't mess with the big guy. So talk to me about impulses in that regard.
Well, there you go. He shouldn't have went after anybody, because first of all, let's start with this. When he was thinking to himself, I want to go play basketball. Why is an NBA draftee going to the local YMCA gym? Why? Why is he not doing that? I mean, why is he doing that? Now, if you had said he was at UNC, at the UNC gym playing a pickup game with other basketball
Yeah.
players, UNC basketball players, or even if you had told me anywhere, not necessarily even UNC,
Yeah.
but any other college,
Yeah.
playing with college basketball folks who
and
are
it's
more likely his peer.
Yeah, and you make an excellent point because again, I'm told by the eyewitness that the talent on the court that day was not up to PJ's level. That he
No.
certainly would have been playing or was playing down. The competition just
Yes.
wasn't there. So
Yes.
why go in here? And again, according to the eyewitness, it was coming off like PJ was sort of letting it be known that he was running the gym that particular day.
Right,
So
right.
like a little power thing going on. And
that's
again,
it.
why do you need to do that? So
Exactly.
I hear you, doctor.
Impulse control. And again, he certainly could have gone to any college basketball. He could have been at Wake Forest. He could have been over here at UNC. He could have been up the street at State. He could have been anywhere.
Well, I don't
and
think.
still run.
I don't know if UNC is a spot he needs to be, or if UNC would welcome him, if you know what I mean.
That's my point, is that he could have gone anywhere and taken at least one step up from the not even the rec league, from the you know what I'm saying, from the community league.
Right.
I mean, come on.
All right. Well, doctor, as we wrap it up here, you're a prolific writer. You've written several books. Which of your books, if you had an opportunity to recommend one to Mr. P.J. Hairston, what does that young man need to be reading?
I would say that my book, It Takes a Village to Raise a Criminal, is very apropos for him because he seems to be determined that he is going to, throw himself or catapult himself off the pathway that he has managed to remain on miraculously since he was a young person. And if he's going to go around assaulting people at some point, especially if you're going to be assaulting people in low places, at some point it's going to get, it's going to get down to him or somebody else. And he inadvertently find himself looking at some real charges and some real time.
And in terms of his rehabilitation, in the world of sports, when guys act up, coaches like to run them and make them run extra sprints. Is this the kind of thing that's really going to help a guy like PJ?
Not really. I mean, he's gonna need to deal with the root cause of what's going on with him. Unfortunately, lots of people, I'm gonna say, survive trying environmental circumstances, whether trying childhoods, trying neighborhoods, various disabilities, parenting circumstances, and they never get, get into the upper echelons of their profession, whether it's, pro sports, whether it's music, whatever it might be, acting, that puts them into the public eye, but they don't get help for that thing that they survive.
Okay.
Because invariably, whatever helped them get beyond the thing they survived is invariably going to wear out and become less useful and can actually hurt them when they finally get to where they're trying to go. And so without some actual professional assistance, it's not going to, we'll see this young man again.
Dr. Jen, tell us where to get your book, and I got one more question for you.
Okay, hit me at www.5uglyfacts.com.
And Dr. Jen, please tell me that if we're playing basketball, spades, bid whiz, or whatever, if I happen to get the upper hand on you and start showing off and making you look, not so good, you're not going to hit me upside the head, are you?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It'll be all in fun, and we're all there, all in fun. Now, that's a lesson, though, as you're saying. So it's a lesson to everybody that's playing these games. I mean, whatever happens to good sportsmanship? What happened to that?
Well, Ludacris told us best. All we do is win, 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 no matter what. So I guess we sort of adopted that and taken it too seriously, Dr. Jen.
I guess.
Dr. Jen, always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much.